Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special conversation being hosted on the occasion of National Cancer Survivors Month, a time that celebrates resilience and survivorship while also recognizing the experiences, emotions, and support systems that continue to shape the cancer journey beyond diagnosis and treatment. My name is Malti, and I represent Siemens Healthineers. And today we are here to have a conversation around survivorship, hope, resilience, and the human side of cancer care, the experiences that often go beyond diagnosis and treatment. And before we begin, a special thanks to SpikeFin Partners for bringing together a platform like this to spotlight real patient stories and conversations around evolving cancer journey in India. Over the years, the conversations around cancer have become more open and encouraging, helping patients and families to seek information, support, timely care with greater degree of confidence. At the same time, cancer journey remains deeply personal, shaped not only by treatment but also by caregivers, communities, the medical guidance, and the strong support systems. As cancer care continues to evolve, there is also growing recognition of the role that advancements in healthcare technology and diagnostics which can play in enabling early detection, more informed decisions, and better outcomes. At Siemens Healthineers, we believe that progress depends on collective action, uniting clinicians, policymakers, patient communities, as well as industry partners. Today's discussion, the human side of cancer, is an extremely valuable one because it will help us explore journeys from the point of view of lived realities, from diagnosis and emotional resilience to the role of caregivers, communities, and evolving cancer care systems in supporting patients way beyond treatment. And to help us bring these experiences into the front, I'm delighted to be joined by two incredibly amazing cancer survivors whose journeys reflect courage, resilience, and hope. Joining us today is Ruby Aluwalia, a cancer survivor and also founder of Sanjeevni Life Beyond Cancer. She's an author, artist, and a former bureaucrat. Through her own experience with cancer, she has become now passionate advocate for patient support, touching the lives of thousands of patients and caregivers across the country. We are also joined by Nina Tabre, a homemaker, a breast cancer survivor, and a passionate patient advocate. Diagnostic with stage 1 triple negative breast cancer in 2018, Nina turned her personal experience into a source of strength for others, guiding and supporting fellow patients through treatment, recovery, and survivorship. Thank you so much for being with us today, Nina and Ruby.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you so
having
much.
us here, Monty.
It's our
To
pleasure.
begin then, yeah, to begin this conversation, I'd love to talk about your personal journeys. So maybe we start with you, Ruby, first. Could you take us back to a time when your cancer was first diagnosed and what you remember most vividly about that phase, emotionally as well as mentally?
Thank you for having me here, Malti. And going back to the journey which I covered in 2009 with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer. Uh, it was diagnosed not because I went for any kind of screening or checkup. It was diagnosed because I had a lady who used to come home for massaging my children. And I was continuously having a back sprain for the past 1 month. And I want to mention this because I want to, yeah, share this as to how our body tries and tells us something. So I was having this sprain for a very long time, which was not going, and I was heavily into outdoors and swimming and everything. So this lady came and she said, I will just take one pull from here. to straighten your back. And she's the one who noticed the lump, which was pretty big. I was in stage 3 metastatic the already. So it was diagnosed like that. And then, of course, I went for a mammogram and a biopsy and then lumpectomy and finally a mastectomy. Uh, what I remember the most about my journey was that despite having all the resources, it was extremely lonely. It was very lonely, and there was a lot of confusion in my mind. And I did not have anybody with whom I could share what I was going through and the answers that, you know, I needed. So, yeah, this is what I remember the most.
Thank you, Ruby, for sharing a very personal story. Nina, over to you. Would you like to share what you felt at that point in time and, the mental and the emotional state at that time?
Yeah. So in my case, I used to go for my regular yearly checkups. So my CA 125 used to fluctuate and used to be on the higher levels. So I used to be careful with at least having self examinations quite often. So on one such Sunday, we, the four of us, my husband, and my two children, had decided to book a car. So we booked a car, and post that we went for dinner. And on the way back, when we came home, I decided to go and change into my nightwear, and I just decided to do a self examination, and I noticed a lump in my right breast. Uh, Initially, it was obviously denial. I thought that maybe I felt something that is unusual and it can't be. But I kept feeling the lump, and I thought that no, it's something that's really unusual. And I checked with my husband, and his reaction also was the same thing, that it's impossible and it cannot happen. On checking, he realized also that it was a lump. Next day morning, we went to the doctor, the gynecologist, and I still remember on her examining her, the face changed, the expression on her face changing was I think, the last nail in the coffin, assuring the fact that there was something not right about the whole thing. So, and the malignancy was confirmed by the test that she asked me to do. So the whole thing from denying to, the confirming, and then the whole thing of why me, that was the next thing. Because then you start feeling that what have I done wrong to go through this, and what have I done wrong? I shouldn't be going through this. But when you get the results, you feel, okay, fine, I shouldn't be going through this. But then you feel, is anybody shouldn't be going through this? Why is anybody going through it? Cancer. Nobody deserves it. That's what my husband told me. That no one should go through cancer in that case, if that's what you feel. But then when I saw my husband and my children, they were supporting me, I decided to accept it and to fight it out. So these were the stages of my emotions, from denial to acceptance to why me to finally accepting it and then fighting it out. Those were the in a phase of 3, 4, 5 days. These were the continuous emotions. I think they were changing, and I was moving ahead, and I had to just face it and fight it out. That's what it was.
Thank you, Nina, again, for sharing a very personal story. It takes a lot of courage to share all of this, and I truly appreciate you sharing this. Coming back to you, Ruby, you've not only experienced cancer personally, but have also supported many others through their journey. In your view, what role do caregivers and communities and emotional support networks play in the healing process and really in preparing a person what they would go through?
The role that the family and friends play, uh, by supporting the patient in various ways is extremely important, because the treatment of cancer is very aggressive. So it brings a lot along with it. So you are already going through the whole narrative of cancer, which has been built in this society, that cancer is probably the most serious disease that you can go through, mostly maybe in death, and whatever those narratives are, so that they are already playing in your head. But along with that come the side effects which the treatment brings, which create a havoc in your body. And since the hormonal system gets disturbed, there is a lot of, apart from the physical pain it brings, it also creates a lot of psychological instability, insecurity, which you later get to know that it was a side effect. But when you're going through it, it all suddenly, dawns on you, becomes a little difficult to handle. So, although the emotional support that comes from family and friends is important, actually is a must, if you ask me. But still, I do not want to overplay this, because what I had seen working with cancer patients now for more than 13, 14 years, and we work with more than 1,000 patients every day now, that 50% of the people do not have this. So I don't want to overplay. Somebody listening to the conversation should not think that if this support is not available to me, is not coming to me, then I have already lost 80% of it, because it's not like. What matters, I think, the most is your own personal resolve to come out of the disease, and knowing that whatever stage it may be diagnosed with, there is a huge possibility of coming out of the disease completely. How the prognosis will be will depend on how you take the disease, because most of the times, cancer leaves you and you don't leave the cancer. It's like that. So I would really like everyone to know that whatever they have been doing in their life, they should continue doing that. Take this as a side project very seriously, to be handled with for sure, but continue with their own dreams, own ambitions, own tasks that they have been on, because they need to go back to it. So, what brings you out of the disease actually is what you are looking forward to after the disease is over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the role of caregivers is important, and anybody who can come in your life at that point of time as a real caregiver, who stands by you. It could be a friend, it could be your spouse, your children, your family, it could be your maid, it could be a neighbor, stranger. Just accept it with open hands, and leave all your ego behind, because all of us need help at some point of time in our lives. So accept help from wherever it is.
Very well said, Ruby, because every patient's journey is absolutely unique and personal. And same thing might not apply from one person to another. But I think what is definitely important is the mental resilience, the mental toughness that one can have in going through this journey. Nina, coming to you, this while you were undergoing treatment, it would have required you to have a lot of physical and emotional adjustments during the treatment phase as well as recovery. Because cancer does not just impact the patient, but the entire family. How
Yeah.
important would you say was your support system during the journey, which helped you cope with this?
For me, it was very important because I think they helped me through. And uh, like Ruby also said, we have to let them in. Sometimes what happens is many patients I have noticed who have supported, they just don't let people in. I don't know why. Maybe they're scared to that people should not see them bald, or they're just closed. Sometimes if someone is helping you, it's okay to let them in. It's fine to let them in. After all, they're supporting you. And I think in my case, I was very lucky that they were helping me. I'll give you an example. For example, I had 16 chemotherapies, and my husband only joined me for my husband and my mom just joined me for 2 chemotherapies because my friends, they formed a WhatsApp group. My friends and cousins, they formed a WhatsApp group, and they said that they would pitch in. And because my husband and my children they had other things to do. So someone was looking after the insurance, somebody was looking after the other things at home. So first even I was thinking, no, why should I take this obligation from my friends? But then I realized it's okay. And it's a lot of thing, that it's a lot of work if every day, if somebody is taking out 8-9 hours, and coming with you. But I think it helped because you are not talking about the disease when they're coming with you. You're relaxed. And I remember one day when one of my friend wanted to come home, and I told her that today don't come home because I'm not in a good mood and I feel like crying. She said, you know what? Today when I feel like crying, so let me come over to your place. Both of us will cry, and then after that we'll listen to music. And I was not really up to it, but when she came, we cried so much for 1 hour, and after that we listened to music and we danced. I think that helped me. So I think the support system, like Ruby mentioned, whether it's house help, whether it's friends, cousins, family, they do make your journey a lot easier.
Absolutely. And, it's like being resilient about the whole phase, and at the same time, the whole emotional support system that you can have will absolutely make your entire journey a lot more bearable and endurable. And I think at the end of it, you
Yeah.
will also have valuable insights to share with several other people. Yeah.
I mean, it's your journey. Of course, it's 70% yours, it's 80% yours, or 90% yours. But whatever 10-20% somebody can help you through it, I think it's all worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ruby, coming back to you, you already spoke about your early signs and, that particular moment which led to your diagnosis. Um, what is really important is how you are really looking at this early diagnosis and listening to your body from the point of view of overall messaging, as you run this entire patient support group. How important is early diagnosis messaging being, conveyed in those support groups that you're supporting today?
Malti, I feel that it is extremely important to listen to your body and be aware of the changes that you may feel. And this is not only to, get the cancer diagnosed in early stages, but also to prevent cancer. Because if you get into the habit of being able to notice the changes in your body and your mental constructs, and you are able to take the corrective action at the right time, you are able to avoid so many chronic diseases in your life, which includes cancer. Uh, Coming back to my own experience, I am not a person who cries very easily. Not that I stop myself from doing it, but most issues don't appear to be cryable to me that way. So I don't cry very easily. But 2, 3 months before my cancer was diagnosed, I would just break down on very small things, uh, which I could find to be odd because this was not me. Uh, uh, but I never really paid attention to that. This is just looking back that to see. Another thing which was happening to me was that I was feeling very exhausted. Exhausted not only physically but even psychologically, as if I didn't have any additional bandwidth for anything at all. I would reach my office, and the first thing which I had to do was to have a cup of coffee to start my day, which was not me. I am a very driven person, very self motivated person. So when I reach my work table, I already have my tasks, in my day. And I seriously don't need coffee to start my day. But it had started happening. The third thing which happened was very odd, but I started losing balance. So if I was walking, I would suddenly slip. I would, tumble, which is not. And I was finding that why, and I was continuously feeling short of sleep. I was so very short of sleep all the time. So these are the symptoms which I had noticed. Then I could have, thought about figuring it out as to what is bringing. What I'm trying to say is that this happens with women and men more, women and men equally these days, because everybody is pushing themselves to the edge in terms of their career, in terms of holidays, in terms of their family life. Everything is a task which needs to be, cleared. So I think everybody is doing it, but women do it much more. So this whole concept of being a super professional, being a super mom or a super father, being a super spouse, I think is so overrated. Is so overrated. And what I have written it in my book, that what it created in me at the end of it all was an under average routine, in this whole thing. So, yeah, coming back to the question that you asked me, it is extremely important to be aware of any signs in your body, of if you are thinking differently suddenly, if your emotions you are not able to handle properly, and you're suddenly feeling like a victim, this is the time for a wake up call.
Very, very important. Thank you, Ruby, for sharing that perspective. Anina, coming to you, access to the right information at the time of treatment is absolutely important. And I think many a times patients are not able to get the right information through their, especially during the early phase of their journey. How are you channelizing this today in terms of helping patients, the kind of work that you do today?
Yeah, I think the initial time getting the right information is extremely important. Reaching the right doctor. Sometimes people don't know which doctor to go to initially. We don't even know. The problem also is here people will start guiding you with some alternative treatment, which sometimes if you take alternate treatment, the cancer can increase or go in a different way altogether. So I remember, when I was diagnosed, and I went to my doctor, and when I stepped out of his clinic, there's one thing he told me. He said, the moment you step out of my clinic, there'll be enough and more people giving you lots of advice. And you just tell them one thing. I have given the fees to this doctor, and I am going to only listen to him. The day I give you fees, I will listen to you. And this is one thing I've learned, and I always tell the patients I advise that always listen to your doctor, because I think, people will tell you some kind of, it happens, they'll tell you some kind of alternative treatment. They stop
Yes.
they stop the treatment, which is allopathy treatment, because allopathy treatment sometimes is very expensive, and not sometimes, actually, it's very expensive. So they stop the
Mm.
treatment and they start some treatment, which is an alternative treatment. And then I don't think that is in cancer. I don't think it can work. It's better to go by what the doctor says. So that's my advice
Mm.
to most of the uh, patients. At least I advise that go by what the doctor says. It's
Mm.
expensive. It's difficult. Some people find it. I think when they talk about chemotherapy, they get scared of losing hair, or they're scared of all the side effects, the weakness, or whatever they'll go through. And that's why they think that this is the easier way out. But they also have to turn out alive, right? They can't have the cancer just grown and then it's difficult. They can't have a way back. So that's the only thing, is listening to your doctor, and even if it's a difficult treatment. And the other advice I always give to patients, if at all, I mean, it's late sometimes, is I've noticed is that many patients don't have an insurance, medical insurance. And because the cancer treatment is so expensive and they don't have a medical insurance, unfortunately, they cannot afford it. So it's very difficult for them to pay up the bills. So that's why either the medical treatment is not being able to complete, and that's why they have to give up the medical treatment and go for this alternate medical treatment or whatever. I mean, something like that. So that's another thing that I have noticed. And the other thing is, of course, going in for regular checkups. And if at all they have not been able to go for checkups, and if they find something, they either procrastinate or they think, I don't know. I've seen women not even going in for mammograms. If my own friends, if I tell them to go for mammograms, they'll say, no, no, kuch nikal jayega. Their fear is, no, no, let me not go for it. Let me not just go for it. So that's not going to change. That's the thing. So going for regular checkups, let's not procrastinate if something comes out, having a medical insurance, and if at all something comes out, let's go in for regular treatment, even if it's tough.
Right, right, right. So if I have to summarize what both of you said, listening to your body is extremely important, because notice for those silent signs and symptoms which are coming out and perhaps one is ignoring. Going for regular screening is extremely important, as you mentioned, Nina. Following the right doctor's advice becomes extremely important, and ensuring that you have a medical cover early on in your life is very important, because you never know what's going to come up when,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah,
think
because in
these are
my
some of the
case,
very important messages. Yeah.
yeah, because in my case, I mean, one more thing I'd like to add. Many people think, ki in our family, no one has cancer, so we won't get it. That's another thing I've heard. Mine also wasn't a genetic cancer. There's nobody in the family who had cancer. So it's not necessary that, you will have cancer if somebody had it in your family. So in today's times, cancer is there everywhere. It's better we have some, at least that shouldn't be a concern that we have to spend on. Everyone knows it's a very expensive treatment. And India has the best of
Right.
doctors and best of treatment everywhere. So we should be able to afford it. That's the least, that should be our least of concern. That's what I think.
Thank you, Nina. One final word from both of you on, what survivorship means to you and what gives you hope for the future of cancer care in India. And maybe we go with Ruby, with you first.
What survivorship means to me personally, actually, I think I'd even forgotten. It's only when there is a conversation which is happening, and the whole thing of survivorship comes. But what I feel for everybody, most of the survivors, I find they have to remain in the cancer ecosystem because of follow-ups, because they need to be careful and everything. But don't remain in the cancer ecosystem as a victim. Remain in the cancer ecosystem as a provider. Even Nina, what she is doing, because when you are in the mode of providing, your own internal system is in better harmony. So it is very important, and that is why I was talking to you about this Cancer Community Leaders program. So people who come back as survivors to work in this system, even if it could be just 2 hours in a month, I think it is important to remain here because you can't get away from this. Once you've had it, you need to be careful. You need to be in this ecosystem. It has to be somewhere in your mind that you need you need to take a little extra care than everybody else around. And the best way to be here is to start giving. That is what I would say.
Nina, over to you.
I think let's not take things for granted at all. Life can throw away, surprises anytime. So let's live life to the fullest. Do what you want to do now. We can't wait for tomorrow. We can't say, let's do it tomorrow, let's plan holidays tomorrow, let's do this tomorrow, let's do that tomorrow. We can't plan tomorrow. We got to do everything right now, whatever you want to do. And yeah, helping people, I think survivors need to help other patients in particular, because I just feel exactly the same. Because when I was going through the journey, I didn't have anyone to answer my questions. See, doctors can definitely answer the questions, but they can answer small, small questions. And when it comes to a survivor, if suppose a survivor always gives you a hope that if she survived it, I will too. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel that you see. And if you are the light at the end of the tunnel and you can give that hope to that person, I think there's nothing more that's more valuable for that person. So I think that adds up to the whole thing. So that gives me, whoever I'm helping, that's important. And I think with women, especially with breast cancer, women cannot share lots of things. Losing a breast is a very important part of uh, you know an emotion. It's a organ that is visible. So I think women go through it, and sometimes they cannot share it with many people. So if it's a survivor, she doesn't know that person, she can share it without any inhibition. So I think that's very helpful. Maybe she can vent out, maybe she has
Absolutely.
certain problems, she can just vent it out. So being of any help of that sort, it's very satisfying to the person who's helping. It's very helpful for the person who is venting out that feeling.
Truly appreciate the way both of you are giving back, and whatever lessons you've learned through your own experience. Now you're trying to make the society much better by being so much more helpful to patients, creating that awareness and that ecosystem where people can reach out for information. So I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is that while every cancer journey is deeply personal, the role of empathy, timely support, strong communities, and patient centered care remains invaluable throughout this experience. Thank you to both of you for joining this conversation. And a big thanks to SPAC Dialogue by Fin Partners for providing this platform for conversations that go beyond moments and focus on meaningful progress. Thank you so much, both Ruby and Nina, for sharing your journey with so much of courage, openness, and hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much.